After this chapter, I think it's starting to become very clear that the supposed fight between Shanks and Kaido might not have happened in the first place. And the reason why I say that is because if you know Shanks as a character, he is someone that loves to party. He is someone that loves to be free. Every time we've seen him communicate with people, he sits down and has a drink with them. I mean, we've seen this with Mihawk. I mean, we know he would do it with Whitebeard. We know he's an individual that loves to party. On top of that, he is someone that has always been, like, more of a passive individual, or neutral. He likes to talk to all parties. I mean, we even seen this recently in the Reverie arc, with Shanks trying to talk with the Elder Stars. So, it proves that Shanks has always been someone that's good at negotiations and partying. And looking at Kaido's characterization within this chapter, it's very clear that if Kaido does have some form of problems with alcohol, then I feel like Shanks could have easily have pressed or persuaded Kaido to be able to hold it off for another day against Whitebeard, and they just had fun. And that would explain why Shanks had no injuries or it didn't look like there was any signs of a fight, was because he was just talking and partying with Kaido, and then he made it over to where Whitebeard was, or after the fight at the Whitebeard War. So that's the point I'm getting at, is that I feel like Kaido right now, there is a lot of things about him in this chapter that we learned that really kind of go along the lines of expanding upon his character. Now, there's a lot of questions, obviously, after this chapter, but before I get into that, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, what everybody is talking about, which is Luffy attacking Kaido. Luffy has always been an individual to attack first, think later. He's always been that type of character. He's always been someone that rushes in, bow, right against the guy, and that's it. Like, that's what he usually loves to do. He always does that. You know, he kind of lets his emotions, his anger control him, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's something that Luffy's always done. If you go back to the very beginning of One Piece, Luffy has always done this. You cannot say that is not part of his character. So, seeing what he did at the end of this chapter, it's very Luffy. It's very in character for Luffy. Now, the reason why people are upset with this finale to the chapter is not just because of the cliffhanger, which that's, honestly, I can see why a reason why people would be upset, but it's the fact that Luffy attacked Kaido and did not think about the situation. And honestly, I'm just sitting back thinking about this, really? Like, people are upset because of that? I mean, it wouldn't be Luffy as a character if he did not strike at Kaido. I mean, the entire point was he was rushing down there to get to Kaido, and then he had a chance and hit the man on top of the head. I mean, if you really take a look at the panel, the final panel of the chapter, and look at Luffy attacking Kaido, yes, it looks powerful. You know, Luffy's elephant gun looks way stronger than how it was in the past. I mean, he actually hit Kaido, which is aka an emperor, but if you really analyze the panel, it doesn't look like Kaido is necessarily injured. Now, there is a lot of theories going on thanks to this, people talking about what could potentially happen, which is one of the reasons why some are angry with this chapter and some are excited. Because honestly, it's just very Oda-like to have Luffy just square off against Kaido so early into the Wano arc. You'd think that he would be the final boss, which most likely he is, but it was going to be saved until the final part, until we saw any Luffy versus Kaido action, but we're already getting that. And the reason why some are upset is because typically in One Piece fashion, usually Luffy always kind of loses against the big bad of the arc. He always, fights them, encounters them, loses, and then he comes back and he wins. This is something that kind of happens most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time in One Piece, especially major arcs. I mean, we saw with Big Mom, he lost and all that, he was captured, and then, we saw how he was able to beat, Katakuri in the end. I mean, when you look at these little things that have happened throughout One Piece, there is some similarities, and people are worried that with Luffy squaring off against Kaido, that obviously he's going to get captured, and then it's going to be a very similar situation to how it was with Big Mom. And that's why people are upset. Personally, it would be good for the story if that did happen. I understand why people would have concerns, but let me explain the reason why it would be good. See, number one, it would once again prove how strong an emperor is, which I think at this point in time we don't really need that clarified, because I think we can already see that Kaido is ridiculous. I mean, the man literally destroyed Odin Castle like it was nothing. The man literally speed blitzed Luffy and Law, got across the entirety of these towns like that and was over there, I mean, Kaido's already proved his feats enough. Just looking what he did in this chapter alone, especially while just being drunk at that. So, I mean, Kaido, his feats already are kind of crazy. And from what we already know from his previous feats, it's been said about, how he supposedly couldn't die, he's immortal, jumping off a sky and all that. I mean, everything we have seen already or heard about, we know the man is ridiculous. And in a lot of ways, people are starting to say that he's way stronger, crazier than Big Mom, which, I can see why many would say that. We didn't see probably as many crazy feats as we're now seeing with Kaido, but that's another discussion for another day. The big point, though, is that it would be good for the story if Luffy is captured, because once again, he will see how strong Kaido is compared to him, and also prove the point of why they need a massive army just to be able to face this man. But number 3, if he does get captured, he most likely will be put in this same prison cell as Kid. Remember, we know Kid is in a prison cell. We know for a fact he didn't want to be underneath Kaido. We already knew all of that. We saw it ourselves. And so when you think about that, it does make sense that maybe if Luffy does get captured in Law 2, they'll be put in a cell with Kid, they'll make a 3-way alliance, and then they'll work together to bring down, Kaido. It would be very reminiscent of what happened in Sabaody, so I mean, yeah, I just feel like that's where Oda's potentially taking the story if Luffy does get captured. Now, there is other potential possibilities of what could be happening here. With Luffy hitting Kaido so hard, there is a likely possibility that maybe just Kaido's just going to go unconscious. Because, I mean, he is drunk, and he might just be like, just pass out, start sleeping or something. Who knows? Or maybe, he's just so drunk, he doesn't even feel it, and he just starts moving and all that, and he just doesn't, even know. He's unaware of it. I mean, we don't really know these little details, exactly how he truly acts in a fight when he's like this in this type of state. However, let's talk about his characterization. The big thing that we can get from this chapter. It's very clear that Kaido has some form of depression. Number 1, we already know the man has pretty much tried to, end himself multiple times throughout this series. We've seen it. Skyline is a perfect example. So, we know he is in a state of depression. We don't know the exact reasons. We have no idea. We do know that he's in debt to Big Mom. We don't know exactly for what reason, but we also know he's in debt. We do know that he at one point in time was in the same group as Big Mom, and they were in the Lock Pirates, whatever, forgive me. But basically, we know some parts about Big Mom and Kaido's past, and we know some aspects of how he is. And with this whole drinking thing that we see in this chapter, he's definitely a depressed man. And the question is exactly what has happened in this man in the past for him to be like that. It's starting to make me believe that maybe Kaido, he has his problems, obviously. And there was definitely some parallels with Kaido and Big Mom in this chapter. I don't know how many of you noticed that, but you remember in the Whole Cake Island arc, the whole point of that arc, honestly, wasn't really bringing down Big Mom. It was running from Big Mom and trying to stop her from going on a rampage and just destroying her entire country because she was just out of her mind and she was having hunger pains. So, I mean, it's very reminiscent of that with Kaido. Kaido, it was even stated that there was a potential possibility he could go on a rampage and just destroy the towns. And it would be very important if that, happened. If that happened, that would be bad for everyone because they were the main workforce of different facilities and stuff throughout the country. So, I mean, it seems like Kaido is also someone that's very unstable. Very similar to Big Mom. And I feel like there is definitely something here going on that is ingrained into Kaido's past, Big Mom's past. I mean, we know how Big Mom was as a child. We know she wasn't, right in the head. We saw that with the flashbacks and stuff. But I feel like there's a lot more now to Big Mom than we actually realized, especially with Kaido and seeing how he acted, because there's parallels there. They're very similar, and Kaido obviously is very upset about something. I don't think he's just upset about the fact that his factories were destroyed or Smile was destroyed. I don't think that's the exact full cause. I mean, it might be a piece of it, but there's definitely a lot more to this, because it would go along with Shanks offering this man a drink. Who really knows? The point is I think Kaido, there's a lot more to his character. I feel like he is definitely someone that's sad, depressed, and, maybe he's, trying to overcome something from the past he's just trying to forget. Maybe he blames himself for something. Who really knows? But that's my analysis on Kaido after this chapter. Now, speaking of his sheer power, his size, Kaido, you didn't really get to see how massive he truly was in the last chapter. I mean, you knew he was scary large, but you didn't really get to truly understand how large, or to how fully large he was to such an extent until this chapter. Like, the way he stretched out in the sky, and he was able to reach all the way over to Oden's castle like that, was pretty freaking scary. He is absolutely abnormally large. But it's not just that. His fire breath that he used obliterated a castle like nothing. And it's very obvious that Kaido wasn't probably going fully in. I mean, he's not all right in head at this moment. So, when you look at all these little details, Kaido's power is ridiculous. So, I am kind of curious to see what's going to happen to Luffy after picking a fight with Kaido because of what we just got to see demonstrated. Now, anyways, let's talk about what potentially happened to the Straw Hats. Personally, I don't think Nami, Sanji, or any of them are dead. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest here. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a shonen. I mean, I'm not belittling Oda by any means. Oda's a great writer. But at the end of the day, this also is a shonen. And these type of things do happen. I don't think Sanji, Nami, and all of them are dead. Now, I mean, a permanent wound or something? Maybe. I could see that. And this is an Emperor arc, so I could definitely see Oda doing something like that. Now, other characters, like Kinemon and all of them potentially being gone or something, I can see that one. Because that would definitely be something that Oda could potentially do. But, for the most part, Luffy acting like the way he did was because of out of sheer anger about what Kaido has done, taking the castle. I think there's a lot more into that punch, that elephant gun punch that Luffy used, for just angry because his friends could be potentially hurt. I think he also punched Kaido because the memories of what Oden's castle actually meant, what the purpose it stood for, and I feel like that's one of the big reasons why Luffy was very angry too. Because remember, there was stuff about the past that we didn't really get to see in the manga. Remember, Luffy and his crew, they got to find out the true story of Oden and what really happened, what Orochi did, Kaido did, but, you know, we, as the audience, we didn't get to see that. So, there could be a lot more sentimental value to that castle, and that could be the reason why Luffy is very angry and struck Kaido like he did. Who knows? But okay, overall, the chapter, I think, it's a relatively good chapter. It's a shocking chapter. I think it's honestly, an amazing chapter. I think people are kind of, like, hating on this chapter too much. I actually think that it's a really good chapter to kind of really show who Kaido is. And he's not what we all expected, which I think is a good thing. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's just an inhuman creature, monster, dragon. He is definitely something else. There's more to him. And, I mean, we do find out that apparently he can transform into a dragon. And we know that he's connected to Momo in some way, but that still is yet to really be clarified. That could be one of the reasons to why he might be depressed. Who knows? Maybe if he isn't a devil fruit, user, and he legit is, a dragon or shape-shifting or whatever, I mean, maybe the reason why he's upset is because maybe he's the only one of his kind or something. That could also feed into it. Who really knows? But I think I want to end this video here, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.